Hello everyone, my name is Muhammad Faiz Rana. I'm here joined with Ihab and Aaron De Souza. The company we're going to be talking about is Westpac, which is one of the largest banking companies in Australia. Our topic is regarding the corporate scandal which was associated with what Westpac. There are gonna be different topics, sections in this video presentation. So just go through with it with us. Um, the first thing I'd like to talk about is when the scandal first came into the public eye, there were a lot of comments made in the media. So I'd like to talk about a few of those examples. Like for example, in an article in The Guardian, which was released, they talk about how Westpac admitted most of its alleged failings. We have an article from CNN, which is another major news outlet that talks about how the company Westpac agreed to pay $1 billion due to money laundering. That's a huge amount. We have ASIC, the article in ASIC, which stands for the Australian Securities and Investments Commission, speak about how the federal court ordered Westpac to pay the penalties of the six cases it was charged with. And these six cases didn't just come up about in the span of 1 month. This was going on for years. Cases such as them charging fees to deceased customers, which was foul and not ethical. There's an article in BBC. It also relates with the articles that I mentioned earlier, of CNN and The Guardian, which is about Westpac being fined for laundering breaches. Moving forward, as these things were coming about, there is a public reaction. And rightfully so. It's very understandable. And just like that, this is what happened with Westpac as well. The child exploitation allegations got the most attraction from the public, whereas there are obviously stakeholders within Westpac as well, and which is why the controversy resulted in the outrage for the shareholders and led to the resignation of Chairman Lindsay Maxted and Chief Executive Brian Hartzer, which is again was a big blow to Westpac itself and its company. And for more further information, I'd like to pass it on to Aaron De Souza to talk about further things.
Okay, so thank you, Rana, for your part. So now I'll be explaining about who was responsible for the Westpac scandal, how does the scandal link to accounting disclosures, and the theory that fits into the scandal. So first, who was responsible? Two people were involved in this case. One was Brian Hartzer, who was the CEO of Westpac, and Lindsay Maxter, who was the chairman. With regards to the CEO, based on his actions during this case, he was forced to resign from his company and he left with a 2.7 million payment. And as for the chairman's case, it was indicated that based on its present understanding, the board did not believe that any member of the executive team, including Hartzer, had demonstrated lack of interest. Now, how does this scandal link to accounting disclosures? So, one type of accounting disclosure that is related in this case is full disclosure. I'll just explain in brief what this disclosure is about. It means the company should report all information that is relevant regarding the financial statements. But however, in this case, Westpac had failed to disclose this. That is, They neglected to report all relevant financial information and proceeded to misinform stakeholders of the financial standing of Westpac by embezzling funds and did not mention that their money was used to fund terrorist organizations. And also, they failed to investigate the transactions in the Philippines and Southeast Asia as well. The company had also breached other laws like illegal money laundering and terrorist financing. And these breach of laws were charged with a fine of 63,000 Australian dollars. And also, the company had self-disclosed previously a failure to report a large number of international fund transfers to Austrac, and so what they did was they had taken the necessary steps included so that they could close all the gaps in its anti-money laundering processes. Now there is one theory that fits into the Westpac scandal, and that is dividends with regards to its creditors. So creditors are the primary bondholders and they claim for more than $500 million in this case. And after that, the court had decided that when the organization enters the point of insolvency, it shouldn't harm the creditor's interests as well. Okay, so guys, that was it for my part. Now I'll be passing it on to Ihab. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron, for that explanation. As you can see, crimes of such high degree are susceptible to be punished and or imposed financial sanctions, and Westpac, regardless of its size and reputation, was not exempt from it. The Federal Court of Australia allowed for a settlement for both parties involved, Westpac and Austrac, and it was among the highest recorded fines in history, namely amounting to Australian dollars of up to 1.3 billion, which is even stated to be the largest penalty imposed in the country for companies. But it did not stop there, as several executives of the company, including the CEO Brian Hartzer, submitted their resignation as punishment for their jurisdiction over the bank's several offenses. Another such executive that had resigned early, similarly, was Lindsay Maxted, who had an early retirement as company chairman. That decision was made after the result of the events that transpired. Westpac as a company suffered the most damage as the reputation was rock bottom and public opinion was in the drains. There was a lack of trust that generated towards the bank, along with strong criticism from various stakeholders such as shareholders, financial regulatory bodies, the general public, and so on. Westpac was instructed by the relevant regulatory bodies to take immediate action in order to address and solve key problems exposed in the organization. The bank was ordered to improve its anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing systems, among other things. Incidentally, share prices of Westpac faced immediate decline in value, such as the direct result of the consequences of the financial scandal of this scale. There were several ethical consequences to this case. The inability to ensure the safety of minors, the incident shed light on the company's decision to actively participate in transactions related to the exploitation of minors, which directed attention to several non-ethical flags that incited widespread anger and disdain from throughout the entire country. The general populace places a large amount of trust in financial bodies of the country, especially a bank, as they are responsible for upholding an honest and fair financial jurisdiction of billions, if not trillions, of Australian dollars of the public. The scandal conveyed to the people that Westpac and every bank in the country were not institutions that could be blindly trusted. The trust was built across decades, was severely damaged, and questioned their institutions of the country on their ethical standards. And so, with such heavy implications placed on the company, the incident will forever remind Westpac of the importance of adhering to the several ethical standards which can now be seen on their homepage, as they have promised to always uphold such said standards as a company as an obligation to their stakeholders and society as a whole. Some lessons that can be concluded from this case are implementation of stronger systems by the bank in order to ensure anti-money laundering, as well as financing for counterterrorism, which these stuff can be stopped such atrocities from its source. If anything, this case has heavily implied of the importance of a tight leash on such important organizations that play a pivotal role for the people of this country. Companies must increase implementation of compliance culture within the organization, as the existence of a healthy culture of working towards upholding ethical standards throughout all levels of organization can minimize the controversial incidents to an effective degree. One way to ensure that your organization is not exposed to illegal activities is to strictly coordinate and comply with the regulations and standards set by regulatory bodies, who is essentially responsible to uphold legal and safe functioning of organizations. And in doing so, a company would be able to maintain trust from stakeholders towards the company. Finally, a company's ability to efficiently and effectively manage its reputation in the market is key to the company's future. A bad reputation can result for the company to go through a decline as a company as a whole, while a good reputation could contribute to its success. Besides the implications of this presentation on effects of scandals to a company, it is important to note protection of vulnerable individuals should be of importance to any organization, and it should take priority, as everyone needs to provide support to those weaker than us, as we may ourselves require the same support we give out in the future. We never know. Thank you for spending your time and energy spent on observing this presentation, and I hope you're able to make a difference in the future. And on behalf of my teammates Aaron and Rana, thank you for watching this video.